Good morning. Good morning. Just sitting still for a minute till people come on. Maybe we can just take a moment to settle into the quiet of ourselves. Good morning. Let's just settle into the quiet of ourselves together for a minute. We're standing on the earth pretty much around the globe right now. Not everywhere. I really, I actually feel compelled when I come on these calls to, there's a certain compulsion to, like sort of if I was an evangelist preacher, I'd say the voice of the Lord is moving through me. I don't want to claim that fame. But there is more to coming on Facebook Live for me than having a chat, like in the pub or at quilting parties or hiking or picnicking somewhere. And the interesting thing, when you're all of us, not just me, because of our societal language, we only go so far in our ability to bring language to things that are very deep and very meaningful and can be very disturbing or even pretty exciting. And because I'm a prophetess and a mystic and a seer, I do think it's my responsibility, a responsibility I choose, not really that big a weight most of the time. I do think there's a responsibility I carry to tend to the people. I do. And that the gifts would not have been given to me if it weren't to take care of the people. So I'm just going to try to do my best today to relay something that kind of the power of the Lord feels like it's moving through me. I don't know about you all. There is sometimes a challenge to kind of what right do I have to pontificate or evangelize or predict or prophesy or but even that gets overtaken by sort of force that's moved through me my whole life. And sometimes that force, well, probably all the time, but sometimes that force is forceful. And I know you've heard me say that sometimes I feel like I'm alcoholic standing, a bum alcoholic. No offense to bums. We have a lot of them around here. They take really good care of each other. Standing on the street corner, shouting, "It's the end of the world." And that's really my topic today. If it's a topic, it's the power of presence, the power of being able to see, the power of my job is to prepare people for life, not just the everyday circumstantial life, but for the movement of life on this planet. And so I've always been hypersensitive to weather, always been hypersensitive to the earth. Always, always, always. Welcome all of you coming on. I appreciate you being on the call today. For me, this particular event on Friday, Facebook Live, is we come together. We come together and sit together and be together and commune together. And I don't in any way like it to be my instructing you or my teaching you or my lording over you in some manner. We're two in this together right now. And it is true that the phenomenon of a seer, the phenomenon of a prophetess, is that they usually talk. They usually say what they see and what they're present to. But it really is on behalf of life, not just to hear ourselves talk. I promise. Maybe it is for some, but not for me. I'd rather be in my bed. I didn't get much sleep last night. Second night in a row. And then there's this phenomenon of premonition. And I watch, good morning, Sylvie. I watch as people that carry my kind of gift. I don't like the way it's presented, premonition. I think in this world of I'm right, you're wrong, or I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, that premonition should be done carefully, with great care and great holding of others. But for me, I have a circumstantial world, and I have what would we call it? I have an otherworldly world. And mostly I'm defined and explained by the worldly world. But my unity, my spirit, my consciousness is paying attention to the fabric of creation and how it's moving in the physical world. Hence, I'm doing a very long prologue of the, topic I want to presence today. I got a message on WhatsApp, which I'll allude to. I don't want to describe it exactly. But I also was on Facebook Live, and one of my clients from a long time ago in Canada was talking about the loss of her world. I guess they're shut down in her area. And she's a horse rider trainer. Only it gives her life. Her profession gives her life. And the barns are closed down. The horses are not being ridden. And she doesn't have a job. And I remember, I don't know in time, I'm not very good with past time, but I remember when she bought her house, that for the first time in her life, her talent was being used well as a horse whisperer almost. And she had money to buy a house, and she was so happy and so excited, and she was getting to do the world she loved. So that's one story I'm bringing to the party of this conversation. But in the meantime, while I'm doing this, while I'm relating to certain people's lives, I'd really like you to relate to your own. I would like us to have a common thread here, a common, something that we're at the effect of as a common, in a commonality, in a common, like we're all in it together in our own individual way, in our own manner. So as I share a few things, I'd really like you to relay it to yourself. Because it isn't, we're so addicted to the events of the outer world and to their effect on us. We aren't ever able to pause and reflect on things like, wow, something's different. Wow, something's just not the same. Wow. Even things like, feels like the world's going belly up. But not in the vein of being at the effect of it. Like being, not that we aren't at the effect of it, but not having that so overwhelm us that we can't just sort of get in the face of it. Just be in the face of it. Then I began to notice something this past week, and I began to notice things that are subtle. It's not what people pay attention to, because mostly human beings just pay attention to their corner of the earth. But I began to notice, and it's happened before, and I think we've even addressed it before in years past. I began to notice that there was that death was in the air. And I don't mean like the pandemic. And I don't, let's just leave it at death was in the air. And death can be very subtle. Death can be the death of comfort. The death of, like since I've had COVID, I have these days that my brain's just scrambled. And anybody that knows me knows I have a high stamina for multitasking. And I mean, when Heather came, pretty much I couldn't even figure out how to organize the bathroom sink. Every now and then it's longer periods of time now, but there are these dismantling of this sort of click, click, click ability to put everything in order I am proud of about myself. And it's not persistent anymore. So that's kind of a death. And then I noticed that kind of death was in the air at multiple levels. Physical death, the fear of death, the fear of loss. And I could feel something. I'm going to describe it from a mystic's point of view, okay? I could feel this, let me go back to what happened in this period of time, which is about maybe 5 days, maybe 10, somewhere in there. But Praline asked me about had I noticed anything different about death recently, and I had, but nobody ever asked me those questions. God bless her. I had noticed something different. I'd been in bed, and one of my children, who's 50 years old, not my womb child, but he calls me Tanti. But I pretty much had been his mother from afar since he was 9 years old. He called me, and his girlfriend's mother was dying, and she was having a terrible time. And they were having to watch her by Zoom. I mean, how brutal is that? And nobody could seem to ease her pain, and she had made a living will where she didn't want to be knocked out. So she was in trouble as far as pain and anguish and what the body goes through, and its nervous system is caterwauling like a cat. So he said, can you help her? And I can. It is part of what I came with. So what I do is ask for their name and their location and obviously city and state, like what in this case, the hospital. Hey, you want to come up? Come on. And another one. Oh, good. Do you? Okay. And but something was different. I was right there. It was like Doctor Strange. I was right there. I'm going to bleep off a minute because somebody's asked me if they still want me to come today, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. But I couldn't believe how it went. Like, it wasn't like this place where I open a corridor. I'll be in the etheric territories for those of you who've done that work. It was like we were right there, like Dr. Strange. Right, I was right in the hospital. I was right by her side. I can describe her to a T. And it surprised me, but it was pleasant and it was lovely. And it was also normal. And I just said to her, we call it bilocating in metaphysical terms. I just said to her, come on, let's go take a walk. You don't have to be here for this. And it was very sweet because she said, I'm naked. And I said, well, put on a dress. Because obviously when you're in your soul body or spirit body, whatever people want to call it, you can dress any way you want to. It's a dream state. And so she said, I think I'll put on my finest. So she did. And obviously all of a sudden she was in her dress. And we're walking down the hospital hall. I've never had that experience. I could feel my bare feet on the cold pavement. I had her hand and I noticed how wrinkled it was and arthritic and little lady. And we were, I can't explain exactly. We were talking. I don't remember what we're talking about. It's a lot like a dream state. We were laughing and I was asking about herself and just like people, regular people. And then this thing happened. Because I know people direct people passing over. I don't. I just go be with them because I can, as a cellular empath, I can take part of the energetic hit off of a person, not in my own body, as in the cosmic body or the cosmology of the creation. I can just take the edge off for them. So, but the hall began to glimmer in gold and silver and platinum, my three colors. It seemed to follow me around. It lets me operate in etheric territories of paradise, I would say. And it was so fascinating to me because it'd never, ever been like that. Ever in all the probably, 55, 60 years I've been paying attention to that kind of thing. I'm going to turn around so you can see, turn the video around just for a minute. Just for fun and keep talking. That's Kevin. That's Liana's a boy dog who had me up all night. And he's precious. So I noticed that. I noticed that something was more angled to be occurring in the third dimensional playing field. And then all of a sudden, the next day, I was in 5 conversations about mold that had rotted children's teeth and mold that had gotten someone be sick. And so I'm paying attention. I know everybody tries to get an answer or figure out what's going on as if figuring out what's going on will solve everything. It's just that it's really important in our intimacy to be present to what there is to be present to. So we can be able for existence when existence goes outside our comfort zone or even our capacity, and where we have to even ride our fear. So then I began to notice that I wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep 2 nights ago, and I didn't sleep last night. And I got up in the middle of the night because that's the most psychic time. But I was so tranquil, just like I was tranquil with Corey's girlfriend's mother. And it wasn't a tranquil like a personality tranquil. It was like I was someplace tranquil, like I'd gotten there, like I'd taken a boat or flown in on an airplane or stepped into it. It was like a place, kind of an etheric place that I had found, uh, that allowed me to not be at the effect of things that were occurring, and I could kind of long distance view, even if it was happening in my own household. And then I realized that the corridor, this is how I always say it, I really have these conversations publicly. But every now and then in the past almost 60 years of living like I do, and all of you have experienced this, probably. There are kind of these periods of time where death is at our door, where more people pass over, and it's random. It isn't, and I know we've been in COVID, so it seems like, that would make sense, but it's different. It's different. It's like a train comes by and say, if you're interested, come on, um, come on, and uh, if you're interested, come on. And I have to go answer this again. I got a gardener coming, so we're multitasking, I guess. Okay, I'm back. Oh my goodness, crazy. I'll just give a minute because I know it takes a minute for the pause to have me come back. But it's more like it's a date. It's more like there's like a singularity. There's a quantum ripple moving in time. There's something affecting the greater systems of reality of which we're a part, and we're seeing kind of the iceberg head of it peek out in random occurrences, and something begins to become not evidential like human beings usually think about it, like it hits them in the head so they can't miss it, but more like a subtle, like a feeling, like a sense, like sometimes a discomfort or a fear, or the ground's not quite so solid, and life doesn't feel like like your circumstantial life doesn't feel like it's holding you quite as strongly as it did before. And I do think it's possible when the physical world is not holding you anymore, which is going to happen more and more now, is that you can find that place. It's not like it's a place. It's a it's not even a condition. We have a spirit territories that we live in. We have addresses, etheric addresses that can let us step out of this world and find comfort in a place that's born of our spirit, born of our energy fields, born of our unity with uh, the energy of life itself. A lot of people talk about it in different ways. I'm using my version. Um, so that happened, and then Prince Philip, died. For the beautiful man who loved his wife deeply and has been her consort, just like in the Black Jewel series, just like in the Black Jewel series, a consort for the queen. And somehow, and then Laura, some of you may remember Laura. She was in our Spirals of Being for some time. And she lives in Topango, which is next to Trinidad, and they have a mud volcano. Instead of it erupting fire, it erupts mud. But when St. Vincent goes off, which is now erupting, St. Vincent triggers the mud volcano on Topango. I may have pronounced it wrong. And basically, if it's strong enough, the mud can flood the island because it's a very small island. So, and I haven't heard from Laura in a long time, but I'm very connected to her and very connected to her island. And then there's been another volcano. And then in the midst of it, I've been doing this book, Mind of Creation. We're finishing it. These beautiful people that meet every 2 weeks to read it. And it's really been incredibly helpful to feel the energetic of it establishing itself as a gift to the human psyche. But more than that, because I've been working on the Mind of Creation as a book, I've been having to live the Mind of Creation in my own psyche, because I don't want to write a book. I want to give people a living experience. And so it's triggered me into a living experience. So I just get to talk about the surface area of our life and how we interact with it and how we pay attention. But this is deeper. This is real. This is real. You know, mostly people like me aren't listened to because the power of a psychic is that we see your soul. And it doesn't look like Darian Gray's. It's not ugly, it's beautiful. And we know a true psychic is not a fortune teller. A true psychic recognizes who you are beyond your circumstances, beyond what is changing or happening in your life that really affects you dramatically. That's why I did those 7 years and 7 months, because these next 6 years are going to be eventful. And you know, the COVID forced us into ourselves. But that's where we are always supposed to live anyway. Not in who we are to the outer world or what the outer world is to us, but who we are with ourselves. Mountain dreamer, who are you alone in a room with yourself? But it used to be an option. But over the next 6 years, it's going to become somewhat mandatory, somewhat needs to become a muscle. It needs to become a muscle because we don't know where the erosion of the safety zone for modern humans is going to rise. What do I mean by that? We don't know where what we have hidden behind, what we have done to be comfortable, what we have done to protect ourselves from the world and from other people. We don't know how or when that's going to erode, but it will, and is. In some places, it'll erode massively on the earth. In some places, it'll just be a feeling, like a disturbance. Everything will look fine on the surface, but you're picking up on something, you're sensing something, and it's creating a disquiet in your day. And then we reach for the outer world for comfort, which I think is a good idea, especially to reach for community. But the comfort is in the place that you find, regardless of whether it's other people, regardless of whether it's alone with yourself, regardless of it's your back porch. It's what you can find to step out of it. We don't have to go through these changes. We don't. We can live in our own dream time, just like the Aborigines, the original people talk about. We don't have to just be waiting for what the world's going to deliver, or if we're going to be all right, or if everything's going to turn out. It's a dysfunctional mind that is caught in the limitation of that way of thinking. And, our minds have been relatively redacted. So something's in the air. It's popping up all over the place. It all looks unrelated, or could look unrelated, but it's part of something bigger. Interesting, Easter just was here, about resurrection, about being able to move beyond fear of death, beyond death, into life. Life is an etheric experience, not as a circumstantial event. And I think that's the best I can do. We try to tie everything up into a neat little knot so we know how to deal with it or how to handle it. But more and more, it's going to be more important to just learn ourselves in such a way that we can be in the presence of something, that we can be present to something that's uncomfortable, perhaps, something that disturbs us, even if it might on the surface not feel disturbing. This place in each of us, this dwelling place. There's a song, I think I've got a raspy throat this morning, but I want to sing a little bit of it, and I might foul up the words. But it kind of says it better than my talking, and I just want to, I think there are two songs that just really could be like mantras that remind the sensitivity of ourselves, these disquieting sensations, like a sort of electrical energy moving through us. It's the geomagnetic patterning of the earth changing. This is my final topic, part of this topic. We're in a period of time where the geomagnetic earth calibration is changing. The Schumann resonance, all that is our bodies are part of that geomagnetic grid, part of a geothermal grid, part of Schumann resonance. But we have a consciousness and we have a spirit. And to find a loca in our spirit outside of any stimulation we may be in, I think you should practice that. Not pretend like it's there, and if you find it, you can cling to the door, slam the door and shut it and cling to the door, but more like practice finding it. Just practice. The song goes something like this. In the silence, there is a secret place a sacred meeting place. Love is there in the silence where all the rainbows end, and no one can pretend. Love is there. In your heart you can find that you have peace of mind. In the silence, in the silence, in the silence. Just like I said to the mother of Corey's girlfriend, here, take my hand. Let's get out of here. Let's go someplace. Go someplace where we can rest. Whether we call it in ourselves or we call it etheric territory, whatever you call it, I promise you, it's a place. And it's a place that lives out beyond all right or wrongdoing, out past the chaos, out past the circumstances. I see my housemaid as she was very excited that Noah, her cat, who's ill, who has been ill, made it to here. And now he's not going to. She's arranged for him to leave on Tuesday. It caught me by surprise. I didn't realize he was so sick. He's so alive. But he has hyperthyroidism, which is the collapse of the livers in the cat. And at first it just really landed me. I was so sad. Still sad, probably. And I remembered Lily's death and kind of the sadness of the world washed over me and the difficulty of the next 6 years as everything shifts and changes. But then that place showed up last night, and I was glad to have it there. I was glad to be held. I was glad to be in that place, in that secret place that I don't think anybody's ever written about in a way that the mental mind can get access to. But our longing can, our hope, our desire, our imagination, our sensitivity, our sensation. Whatever the word is for you. And it's so fascinating to me because I have known about these times for thousands of years. So it does make it, it does make a kind of a thread that I follow, I guess you would say. Because I know it's all moving towards a deeper nature of being, a more wholeness with the whole of which we're a part of, with the spirit. I knew it's all moving towards the spirit being alive upon the land. So I got to say that I think we have to handle these trauma moments in a manner that lets them pass through, lets them have their time and pass through, I don't think we should dwell there. I think we should stop everything and take care of a trauma moment if we need to, but to not have it be where we live anymore. To not have it be what we believe is the mainstay of life here, because it isn't. And the entire grid of the planet is changing, and we're changing with it. And what we have analyzed to perceive or explain about what we're feeling just doesn't apply anymore. And yes, during this time, people that, like the train came, and they want to take it to go to the other side, and animals do too. You usually see, when these times come, you see usually a lot of animals leave because the door's open, and then there's certain earth changes. So it's a good time. It's a good time to be the deepest part of yourself, to be the immortal nature of yourself that is walking in chaos and in undeterminate futures. Good time to let yourself dream, and to dream beyond the events that, that can be painful, can be frightening, can be disturbing, but to settle in that place, that secret place, and just tend to seeing if you can make it turn out just as quietly and gently and with great care about, because when we're in these times where we're in the meta point of life and death, and that can be loss and having, it's all sorts of levels. We don't kind of know how it's going to go, but we can be on behalf of life. There's a stranger from the past just showed up. Hi, honey. It's good to see you again. We can be on behalf of life. We can be on behalf of what we love. I think that's the secret place. I think being on behalf of life, being on behalf of our life, being on behalf of the life of our children. This next week I'll be on behalf of my friend's life, C, as Noah leaves us. I'll make that my life, tending to her and caring for her and being there for her while the world's changing, while the ground is shifting under our feet. And I'll send out my love and my spirit to Laura, who I'm not even in touch with anymore, on her island, her mud volcano that could, easily overwhelm her island. But I want to be beside her, even if she doesn't know I'm there. That's the silence. That's the secret place. That's the place where love dwells. I know nothing or no one can ever take that away from us. No one. So we're in some kind of pass-through. It means lots of things are going to happen that are weird. It means the doorway's open for those that are ready to move on and able. And it means that we'll be tossed about for a little bit again. And then the sandals settle and we'll get our breath again and reestablish our stability and carry on. And hopefully you'll meet me here on Friday and we'll hang out. Just 'cause, like we're quilting. Or we're in a secret place together just 'cause. And then we're in the process of putting what we call our TV show together. We're really excited about it. It's this cricket. Let's see if I can turn the thing again. There's the dog in his new position. And this is the cricket. It's on our and the Topanga St. Vincent just erupted. I just saw it come up. Isn't he cute? I'm talking about you, Kevin. Kevin Feathers is his name. Kevin Feathers. Say hi to everybody. Oh, no, no. No, you can't take me out of my secret place. Love is there. Look, find that place, okay? There's going to be lots of disruption as we move forward the next 3 to 6 years. Find that place, would you? And that TV show, I don't know, it's not purposeful in the sense of we're out to change the world or save the world or anything. We just thought that during this time when everything's changing and everything's so disruptive, that we just get together and just have good talk. Just let people speak about their imagination about what the world could be, and not so solemn or, but fun. I mean, isn't that what TV's all about? Didn't TV get formed for the news and for entertainment? So I hope you'll join us. We don't have anything put together yet. We're in the process of having it happen. And then I'm going to start a podcast because somebody finally showed me how, because I want to read the books I wrote and comment on them and just be able to feed our soul, feed our spirit, feed our heart. I love you. Take precious care.